Many people, especially in the beginning, are struggling with native ads. In this video, I will give you my top 5 tips to master native ads with traffic platforms like Taboola and Outbrain. Hi everyone, my name is Marcel Sattler. I'm the founder of Purple Black, a native advertising only agency. What we're doing on a daily basis is we run profitable performance marketing campaigns on the biggest native advertising platforms like Taboola, Outbrain, Yahoo, Gemini, and many more. And in this video, I want to share you my insights, my top 5 native advertising tips to master your native advertising campaign and of course, get your campaigns profitable. This is the knowledge from the past 10 years when I'm using native ads. And therefore, I want to share with you my insights, my knowledge, and of course in the last 10 years it changed a little bit. But here in this video, I want to give you the most important 5 tips that you will be able to really rock native ads with Taboola and Outbrain. Before we dig in, let me explain why I've created this video here. Because native ads are very different when you compare it with the other major traffic sources, like for example, Meta with Facebook and Instagram, or also with Google or TikTok. Because these kind of platforms, like for example Meta with Facebook or with Instagram or Google with, for example, YouTube, the big difference here is that you have an account and they will save all the information from pixels, from what you're searching through the web and that kind of stuff. They will save this information in a database. That's the reason why they're offering you as a marketer an interest-based targeting. That's not possible on native. And also native, or in general native traffic sources like Taboola and Outbrain, they don't have such a smart algorithm like it Google or Facebook has. For example, Taboola and Outbrain are the largest native advertising traffic sources out there, but they are way smaller, incredibly smaller than, for example, Meta or Google, for example. And of course, they have less cash to invest into algorithms, into their knowledge. But the big benefit here is native ads are ads that are not looking like ads. And therefore it's a little bit sneaky, you know. Not everybody understands how native ads are working. That's the reason why they're working such great as they are. So a lot of people don't get the feeling that they get advertised. They're in the moment of next. So they're scrolling through the web, they're reading some articles and searching now completely by themselves for the next article, what they could read. And here native ads are jumping in, and that's the big benefit, because people are digging into a topic what they're interested in. And that's the big difference between, for example, Instagram ads. Because when you swipe through stories, you will get an ad and you know, okay, I will get advertised, and usually you want to get rid of it because you just want to see the stories from your friends. And in this case, in a native advertising case, people are directly clicking into a topic what they're interested in. But the negative sides, or the more complex, difficult sides, are here that native ads are way more complex. So when I'm talking to people, did you try native ads? For example, in a huge audience, a lot of people raising their hands. A lot of people already tried native ads when they are in digital marketing. But when I ask a second question, a follow-up question, how many of you guys get profitable native ads and didn't lose or didn't burn any money? The majority of the hands went down very quickly. And that's the reason why I've created this video. And let's take a look here on my screen. The first thing is different audiences. And different audiences is very important, because I see, especially when people are coming from Facebook ads, they just have this approach like, this is my product is great, buy it. So it's all of the creative. So as soon as they have on Facebook, for example, a good creative, like a attractive UGC content, it's usually working very fine, you know. You just can say literally, this is my product does, and should be working. Because Facebook is able to use the algorithm to know exactly for which kind of people they should show your ads. As mentioned already in the beginning, that's not the case on native, and I highly would recommend you to create, therefore, different audiences. So what I mean by that is, usually when you have a product, you have, for example, a specific audience which are familiar with the problem. And then you have, for example, a very broad audience which are non-familiar with the problem. So, for example, when we're talking about hearing aids, then we're talking about different audiences. We're talking about the audience of old people by themselves who are listening bad and who know that they don't listening very well and that they need a hearing aid. But then we also have another audience. So this was the specific one, you know. And on the other hand side, we have the audience with a broad approach. That are people who don't know exactly now that they're listening bad, because you know, you don't hear bad from the next day to the other one. You hear bad in a very slow way. And when you not double check it, or when you not go to the doctor and make a test for your ears, you usually don't know very precisely that you have a hearing issue. But in this case, you can start broad, like, hey, do you feel sometimes, or are you not able always to follow some discussions or that kind of stuff? So that's the difference between a specific or a broad audience. But let's take a sample with the hearing aids. You can also target more or less, so the targeting your native ads is the headline and the image, so that's your targeting. But you can also target people who are affected by the problem, like people who don't hear very well. But there's also a different audience in this case, like their children or their grandchildren who know that the parents or the grandparents have an issue with their ears, and now they try to improve it with a hearing aid service, for example, or something similar. And for specific, there is another approach you can try in this case, like these hearing aids are cost less than you would mind or than you would believe, something like this, you know. So there are always different approaches you can use. There's usually a specific approach, which are the low-hanging fruits. Here you want to target people who are already familiar with this problem and they're just searching for a proper solution. And on the other hand side, you have people who are very top of the funnel, who are not aware of the problem, who are not aware of your brand or of your product, and you just put them into your funnel. And in the best case scenario, you will be able, through your funnel step, to convert them just within a few clicks without any big retargeting campaigns. Let's come to the second point here. And the second thing is a proper funnel. So when you run already profitable ads with, for example, Facebook or Google, then your funnel, usually when you're in e-commerce, is this is your ad and this is your product page on Shopify. And on native, we see that this is usually not working very well. But another approach is working extremely good. And that's the following approach. You have here in the first step, of course, the ad. In the second step, you have an advertorial. And an advertorial is a landing page which looks like an editorial, like a newspaper article. But of course, it's your article, you wrote it by yourself or a copywriter, and you try to convince people here within the advertorial. The big benefit of an advertorial is that people are spending time. For example, when we're talking about the average advertorial, they spend around about 4 to 6 minutes reading your advertorial. They spend their time to read a copywriting. They spend the time to read or to listen to your digital salesman out there, which is insane, and you should use this extremely big benefit in your favor. The goal of the advertorial is to give people a good overview about the product and that people are going to make a decision at the end of the advertorial. So they should know, no, I don't want to buy this product, or yes, I definitely want to buy this product. And if the second one is the case, then you bring people to an offer page, which is more or less the Shopify page, a checkout page, a sales page, something like this. So this is the funnel, and the big difference here is the advertorial. And the advertorial are usually very important, and this is the thin line between profitability and lose money, because a well-written advertorial can make your campaign profitable very fast, and a bad advertorial will also be the opposite, so lose money every day. Let's go to the next step, to the third tip in the video here. So the third one is blacklists and whitelists. So on the big native advertising traffic sources like Taboola and Outbrain, you, or not you directly, but for example your account manager, is able to set up a blacklist or a whitelist. So usually in native ads, you're starting very broad. That means you don't set up, I just want to run on this page, like on MSN or something like this, but you start very broad. But there are two sides of, or there are multiple page types in native ads. So one page type are the premium publishers like MSN and like all the fancy and professional news pages you know. But on the other hand side, the other extreme, is in this case the push traffic sites. And push traffic is usually a traffic which is extremely cheap but isn't always as good converting as you would. So it depends here a little bit. Of course, push traffic is also converting for some offers, but in the majority of the offers, push traffic is not converting very well. So therefore, usually you should try to avoid push traffic and use something like a whitelist, like a premium performance whitelist, to just run on the placements, which are usually in e-commerce or in your niche are converting well. As mentioned already, you're not unfortunately able to set it up by yourself, but you need an account manager from Outbrain or Taboola to set it up for you. That also means that you don't have a self-service account, but you need to have some higher spendings like 10K per month at least to get an account rep. Fourth tip on our list is higher bids. When it comes to native, I see a lot of accounts which people are using with very low bids, like 0.01, 0.05 US dollar and kind like that. And guys, that's not converting, or that's not really working well, especially when you run not arbitrage, but for example, performance campaigns for your e-commerce store. That's way too low bids. It's an auction system. And when you just use 1 cent or 5 cents per click, the platforms are not able to give you some good placements, and you will lose a lot of auctions per default because the bid is way too low. So instead of try to get the lowest bid, it's more important to focus on the CPA, how much you will pay for an action, for an acquisition of a client. Who cares about the CPC at the end of the day? The most important KPI is how much must I pay for new client acquisition or for a new lead or for a new sale, whatever your last conversion KPI is. But who cares about the click? Of course, the CPC is an important part and an important KPI. But in the very beginning, it's more important to get some conversions. And as soon as you get some conversions, you can lower your bid. So we usually start with a higher bid to overbid also the competitors, and then lower it down as soon as we get the first conversions to find, the sweet spot where we have good conversions but also a low CPC. But usually we saw it's not working in the other direction, to start with a low bid and increase it then. You usually have to start with a high bid and decrease it instead of the opposite. Last but not least is fast optimization. And fast optimization is important, especially in the beginning. So what I mean with fast optimization, you can over-optimize your account. So when you always press F5 on your keyboard every 10 minutes, it's not working. Native is a bit slower than, for example, social media ads. And therefore it's important on the one hand side to be patient, but also on the other hand side to optimize your account or your campaigns very quickly. Usually in the beginning, once a day is fine, like optimizing the ads, turn off unprofitable headlines, unprofitable ads, unprofitable images, and decrease, boost or deboost, for example, the sites or the placements itself. So that makes usually sense in the first 5 to 7 days. So if you, for example, a lot of people just turn on the ads and they, after 5 days, they look into their Outbrain or Taboola account and they're wondering why they're almost broke, because the campaign will spend a lot of money, maybe without any conversions. Because as mentioned already, the algorithm is not very smart. So it could be perhaps that you will have $1,500 on one headline, on one creative, which is not converting, and $0 on some other placements or some other headlines. So it's not testing properly. You have to test it more or less manually, and you have to ensure that you will turn off and turn on the right ads to test everything properly. So that's the 5 most important tips which I can give you in your hand to optimize your native advertising campaigns and make profits as fast as possible. I hope you liked that video. If so, I would extremely appreciate if you give me a thumbs up, and of course when you subscribe to my channel to receive updates when I upload a new video here on YouTube about native ads. Have a good one. See you next time.